A man took the last bus home every night and always saw a girl sitting by the road. This was the 13th time he met her. She always wore white and had a suitcase beside her. Every time he heard her fingers tapping softly on the bench, making a knocking sound. On the 14th time, the man finally asked what she was doing. The girl said she was waiting. He told her the last bus had already left. He offered his phone to help, but noticed the screen was cracked. Luckily, it still worked. The girl didn't take the phone but asked if he knew her. When he said no, she lowered her head sadly. Confused, the man left. The next day, it rained heavily. The girl was still sitting on the bench. The man got off the bus and opened his umbrella. She asked again if he knew her. Suddenly, thunder roared. The man tried to give her the umbrella. She said she didn't have time, felt cold, and wanted to go to his home. Then she carried her heavy suitcase and walked to his apartment building. Even though it was hard, she didn't let him help. The man pressed the button for the 8th floor. When they left the elevator, they walked down a long, dark hallway to his home. The room was empty, with almost no decorations. Lightning flashed, and the girl's face became strange. She slowly walked in, and the door instantly closed. Tonight, the hospital seemed quiet. The night shift nurses in the ICU were discussing where to have dinner, leaving only Youngji on duty. No visitors were allowed now, but when Youngji looked up, she saw a man wandering around. He asked her where the morgue was. Before she could figure out who he was, the monitor alarm went off. A patient's oxygen tube had come loose. Luckily, they saved the patient in time, avoiding disaster. But when Youngji thought of the strange man again, he was already gone. In an apartment, a man shivered with cold, curled under thick blankets. He heard dogs barking non-stop and angrily shouted out the window. Then he curled up again, looking uneasy. At a light shop, the owner always wore sunglasses, even at night. He sold all kinds of lights, even vintage bulbs from 80 years ago. After every sale, he wrote it in his ledger. Just like Youngji wrote down patient records in the hospital. The strange man from the hospital appeared at the shop. He looked around like he was searching for something. The owner offered to help, but the man said nothing and left. When the next customer arrived, the owner finally relaxed. The light shop had all kinds of customers, especially at midnight. After one customer left, the man from the apartment came in. As he approached, the owner's glasses and bulbs frosted over. The man wasn't here to buy lights. He seemed to be looking for a barking dog. He searched but found nothing and left, cursing. Only then did the frosted bulb return to normal. Strange customers kept coming tonight. A woman in red shoes entered. She wore long hair and all black. She reached out to touch the bulb, but the owner stopped her. Unhappy, she pulled back her hand and left without a word. The owner stayed alert, watching her every move. The students at school went home one by one. A short-haired girl still wandered near the building. Hyunju, a student, waved at her, but the girl didn't respond. Tonight, the teachers made them stay for study. The students gathered and told scary stories. Long ago, a stranger sneaked into the school. An empty desk in each classroom was said to be her seat. After school, the students passed by a small alley. They talked about the rumor that someone walked there at night, singing strange songs. But the alley was the only way for Hyunju to run errands for her mom. Her friends ran away in fear. She had no choice but to enter the alley alone. Her phone's weak light couldn't calm her fear. She felt something was wrong. After a few steps, she turned and shined her light behind her. She saw a shadow and ran as fast as she could. At the end of the alley was the light shop. The owner always gave her candy to pick from. Hyunju liked the yellow ones. She lived with her mom. Her dad worked abroad and rarely came home. He made her a custom necklace to keep her safe, and she always wore it. Then she told the owner about the shadow in the alley. He said she might have seen something most people can't see. He called them strangers. Sometimes, strangers visited his shop. The owner, with years of experience, could always tell them apart from normal people, like a woman growing taller, a man covered in frost, or one dripping water. He warned Hyunju to act normal and pretend not to see them. Hyunju listened carefully, but didn't notice the water on the table reflecting the owner's aged face. Before she left, the owner gave her a hand-crank flashlight and told her to use it in the dark. After she left, he carefully placed her candy wrapper in a small wooden box. The night was suffocatingly quiet. Bench girl dragged her suitcase closer to the man. The man handed her a towel to dry off the rain, but he was shocked to see she had grown nails on her fingertips. That explained the clicking sounds when she touched the bench. He took back the towel and quickly walked to the bathroom. The girl laid the suitcase down. She stared at him and slowly opened it. Inside was a full set of knives. The elevator reached the 8th floor. When Hyunju came home, she saw the girl leaving with her suitcase. She greeted politely. The girl stopped, slowly turned, and stared at Hyunju's door. Blood dripped from the suitcase. The next day, a new tenant, Seon-hae, moved near the apartment. She didn't like living in buildings with too many neighbors, so she chose a 3-bedroom apartment on the 1st floor. The house wasn't in great shape, and some facilities were missing. One door was even locked and couldn't be opened. But the landlord said the area was quiet at night, and the rent was cheap, which made it perfect for her. So she brought her luggage, filled the bedroom, kitchen, and living room, and cleaned up. The place looked a little cozier. Finally, she used a curtain to cover the locked door. There were no neighbors around, but something annoyed her. She heard a boy singing in the alley. He walked quickly through the alley, and the singing got louder. When he stopped, Seon-hae fell asleep, but her shadow suddenly changed. It felt like someone was hiding in the dark. In the following days, the cheap rental got stranger. The lights often went out, but the circuit box had no problems. One night, while drying her hair, she heard singing again. The boy suddenly stopped and saw a figure with an umbrella running away. The singing annoyed Seon-hae. Then the power suddenly went out. She turned and saw light coming from behind the locked door. She walked over and easily turned the lock open. The doctor was checking a critically ill patient. The situation didn't look good, and the patient needed more observation. Next to him was a patient with severe alcohol poisoning and delirium. Because there weren't enough regular beds, he was temporarily moved to the ICU. Many patients were there, and their families waited outside. The doctor explained that survival now depended on the patient's willpower. Seeing the family's despair, Young-ji felt overwhelmed. Their desperate pleas echoed in her mind, impossible to forget. Someone outside the restroom stall asked how an unconscious patient could have a will to survive. Young-ji didn't know how to answer. She said she had once been in a serious accident and lost consciousness. The doctor told her mother the same thing. In the end, she miraculously woke up, but even now, she didn't know how she found the will to survive. Just then, someone outside banged on the door. The lights flickered. A woman suddenly appeared above the stall, shouting, "Save him!" In an instant, everything returned to normal. The cleaner heard the noise and asked if she was okay. Young-gi sighed in relief. It was just her imagination. Seon-hae entered the locked room with a bright light bulb hanging inside. She took it down, and the boy in the alley got scared. When she asked why he was causing noise, he ran away in fear. After school, a tired girl fell asleep at her desk. Hyun-ju tried to wake her several times, but failed. She had to walk home alone through a dark alley. She held a flashlight the shop owner gave her for courage. As soon as she entered, she saw a woman in black with red heels. Hyun-ju kindly offered to share her umbrella, but the woman ignored her. Hyun-ju followed but started feeling uneasy. The woman's hair seemed to grow longer, and her walking became strange. Her height rose until Hyun-ju couldn't see her face anymore. Remembering the owner's advice, Hyun-ju pretended not to notice and left quickly. But curiosity made her look back. The woman twisted her body and followed. The shop owner heard screams and stepped outside. He told Hyun-ju to go home and then removed his glasses. The woman froze in place. After staring at him, she slowly returned to normal. At the same time, the sleeping girl woke up. She turned around and saw a girl she had never met sitting in an empty seat. In the alley, a boy met Bench Girl carrying a suitcase. He asked if she could go with him to the light shop at the end. If he reached there, he could go home. The girl told him to follow her. As they passed Seon-hae's house, he explained why he feared that room. That night, he clearly saw another figure behind Seon-hae. Meanwhile, Seon-hae found more lights in her rental room broken. She could only use a flashlight to take a quick shower. While cleaning the drain, she pulled out a clump of long hair, but her hair was short. At that moment, the last working light went out, but the locked room lit up. She carefully approached and saw a faint figure in the mirror. She realized the strange events recently happened because that thing needed to hide in the dark. Outside, Bench Girl tried to knock on the door. The boy stopped her but fell to the ground, scared by the weird touch on his fingers. The girl told him they were no different. Then he noticed his twisted legs. He struggled to escape, but couldn't leave the alley. Seon-hae couldn't open the locked door either. She broke the glass to call for help. The boy, exhausted, sat on the ground. Their cries for help echoed through the alley. In the elevator, a strange man kept dripping water all over his body. In an instant, the girl was submerged in water, struggling to breathe. Bench Girl dragged her strange suitcase into a lighting store. Right after, a man claiming to be a cop walked in. 1 month earlier, a woman living in an apartment heard someone knocking on her door. She turned off her lamp and pretended no one was home, but the noise at the door grew louder. The woman panicked and screamed until the sound stopped and she finally calmed down. She carefully opened the door. Around the corner, a pair of cat-like eyes rushed toward her, and then she fell down the building. Soon after, a suspicious man boarded a bus leaving Seoul. Just as the bus was about to leave, the cop stopped the driver and told all passengers to get off. He arrested the man for attacking women living alone and setting fires to destroy evidence. The man looked up and saw a familiar figure, terrified. Then the cop handed the man over to his partner. That night, the cop faced many strange things. His lighter wouldn't work. His hands were covered in dirt. The coffee vending machine stopped working. Recently, there had been too many accidents. As soon as he solved one case, a new one would come. Nearby, a suspect had just been released. A colleague explained that at the scene of an elderly person's murder, Kim Sang-hoon had been present. The investigation confirmed he was only a witness. It was late at night when the cop arrived at the crime scene. He was known for his sharp eyes. Even the smallest details never escaped him, but he was very stubborn. Once he focused on a case, even if it was officially closed, he treated it as unsolved until all the answers were clear. Because of this, his arrest rate was high, but his success rate was low. The cop noticed a strange stain near the victim's door. His colleague guessed the victim died of a heart attack, but the cop saw the victim's face was calm, showing no sign of struggle. It didn't look like he died of sudden illness. His colleague said the victim's wife had passed away long ago. He lived alone and only kept in touch with family abroad through phone calls. The cop also noticed the victim was right-handed, but the remote control was on his left. Only the channel button on the remote was worn out, suggesting the victim didn't use other functions. But the TV was set to replay mode. These details made the cop think his death wasn't simple. The cop went home. The house was empty and lifeless. Everywhere he looked, there were memories of him and his wife. Now, he was alone. The next day, the autopsy confirmed the victim died of a heart attack. The coroner said there was no need for further examination due to his condition and medical history. His overseas relatives also wished for him to be buried intact. The case should have been closed, but the cop felt something was missing. He studied the map of the victim's neighborhood and found something suspicious. He visited all restaurants near the area, checking one by one. Finally, he focused on a small noodle shop. The shop was quiet, with only the owner working in the kitchen. The cop ordered noodles and looked around. He remembered the owner, Kim Sang-hoon, was a witness in the case. The noodle shop didn't offer delivery services. Kim Sang-hoon said customers usually called to order. The cop mentioned there were no calls from the noodle shop in the victim's records, yet the victim received a delivery. Without any clues, Kim Sang-hoon knew the cop was talking about fried sauce noodles. This was very suspicious. It turned out the stain at the door was from the delivery box. The age spots on the victim's face were actually sauce from the noodles. Kim Sang-hoon pretended not to understand. Without evidence, the cop couldn't arrest him. A month later, the cop stopped Kim Sang-hoon on the street while he was chasing a woman on a delivery bike. When he saw the woman's face, he was shocked. She was the same woman who had died in a fire a month ago. Kim Sang-hoon shouted that she shouldn't be here and rushed toward her. The cop stopped him again, but noticed his eyes looked like a cat's. Later, the cop went to the light store. He kept asking the boss to confirm he hadn't seen Kim Sang-hoon, then noticed Bench Girl was about to leave. There were bloodstains on the ground. When questioned, Bench Girl said it was because of her period. The cop believed her and gave her a coat to shield her from the rain. Meanwhile, Hyun-ju, who had escaped earlier, remembered she hadn't bought the light bulbs her mother needed. On her way back, she passed by Bench Girl. At the same time, the owner was busy talking to the cop and didn't notice her, so Hyun-ju left quickly. The light bulbs in the store flickered, as if hinting at something. Elsewhere, at a regional emergency center, a mortician returned to the morgue. He and his assistant fixed the dead's appearance. The assistant heard a strange sound from a body and stepped back in fear. The mortician explained it was normal for gas to escape from corpses. They both bowed respectfully to the deceased. Then, the mortician stuffed cotton into the corpse's mouth to block odors and keep the face intact. The mortician had a secret. He could hear the dead talk. Every time he sent them off, he told them to accept death. The dead were also afraid of the dark. When he pushed them into the locker, he comforted them, saying they would soon go to a happy place and forget bad memories. After that, Only the sound of crying came from the locker. Young-ji worked here too. She parked her car in the basement as usual, but she always felt like someone was following her. In the elevator, a soaking wet man stood in the corner. He didn't press a button and just said he was going to the 8th floor, where the ICU was, where Young-ji worked. She told him visiting hours were over. The man didn't respond. Instead, he asked if ICU patients could wake up. Young-ji said it depended on their willpower. The man closed his eyes tightly, looking pained. Water began spreading to Young-ji's feet. Drops of water kept falling from the man. Suddenly, the elevator malfunctioned, and the lights flickered. Water rose quickly, almost drowning Young-ji. Then the elevator reached the 8th floor, and everything went back to normal. But the security footage only showed her alone. Young-ji calmed herself and returned to work. She put earphones into a patient's ears when the head nurse got a call. 2 car accident patients had just arrived. Meanwhile, the cop was questioning the owner about seeing a man with cat-like eyes. At that moment, his eyes changed strangely too, but quickly turned back to normal. He kept questioning. The owner asked how he found the place. The cop said he followed the sound of a motorcycle, but the owner said he didn't hear any sound. Meanwhile, the nurses complained about more and more patients recently. There were not enough beds or staff. The patient with alcohol poisoning was getting better and would be moved to a regular ward. Seeing his blank face, Young-ji offered to handle his transfer. She told him his alcohol poisoning caused delirium. He couldn't think clearly, couldn't tell people or places apart, and had hallucinations. That's why he saw the muddy man. Young-ji had seen him too. After surviving a major accident, Young-ji often saw people who shouldn't exist. They looked like normal people, hard to tell apart without close attention. The man on the 8th floor had taken a huge loan and was buried alive by debt collectors. He wandered between life and death, unsure where to go. Young-ji cleaned his ears and gave him headphones, just like the head nurse once did for her when she was unconscious. On the other side, Hyunju saw Bench Girl again on her way home. She remembered meeting her on the 8th floor before and let her guard down. The woman asked why she bought a light bulb for her mother every day. Hyunju remembered her mother was waiting and quickly said goodbye. Near the playground outside the apartment, she noticed a man looking around. He said dogs nearby kept barking and wouldn't let him sleep. Hyunju shone her flashlight at him. He was covered in frost and didn't look like a normal person. The man didn't want to talk much and urged Hyunju to leave. At the hospital, a critically ill patient showed signs of life again. He had been close to death several times. The doctors didn't understand how he survived this long. Young-ji said maybe his willpower wasn't just his own. The clerk and the woman in white, the cop trapped in a store, the man covered in frost, the man with huge debts, Seon-hae stuck in her apartment, and the boy who fell, they all seemed to hear the same voice. It turned out they were all patients in the ICU on the 8th floor. At the same time, Hyunju ran home. The trash can was full of light bulbs she had bought. Her mom never turned on the lights when at home. Hyunju talked endlessly, but her mom said nothing. Then they hugged tightly. Hyunju smelled flowers on her mom, the kind from a funeral. Outside the door, Bench Girl watched them in secret. The mysterious light shop connected the worlds of the living and the dead. The owner was actually a ferryman for souls. The flickering light bulbs in the shop represented patients in critical condition. One of them was the man who rode the bus every night. A few days ago, Hyunmin planned to visit his girlfriend after work for her birthday and propose to her. His girlfriend was the mysterious bench girl, Ji-young, but Ji-young didn't want to meet Hyunmin. She was deaf and mute. Hyunmin's mother disliked her and forced her to break up with him. To avoid trouble for Hyunmin, Ji-young decided to leave. Unaware, Hyunmin waited at the bus stop. He texted Ji-young, saying he would arrive soon. Touched by his messages, Ji-young decided to meet him one last time. The woman in red high heels was Hae-won. She was in love with Seon-hae, who was 20 years younger. They planned to rent a place together. The agent mistook them for mother and daughter. When Hae-won stayed silent, Seon-hae got angry and left, blaming her for hiding their relationship. Hae-won didn't want Seon-hae to suffer because of their love. Seon-hae grew even angrier. She threw her red heels and walked straight to the bus. Hae-won picked up the shoes and followed. Meanwhile, school ended. Hyunju happily ran to his waiting mom. Ji-young, who loved basketball, played with friends. He was the boy lost in the alley. Several strangers happened to get on the same bus. The driver was Oh. Before driving, he found a problem with the tire. He planned to get it checked nearby, but was told he would have to pay for the repair himself if he didn't return the bus to headquarters. To save money, he risked driving on a rainy night. Suddenly, the bus lost control and crashed. Hyunmin reached for his phone, waiting for his girlfriend's reply. Haiwan used her body to protect Seon-hae. Hyunju was held tightly by her mom. The bus broke through the guardrail and fell into the river. Ji-young saw it happen. She knew her boyfriend was on the bus and called 911 for help, but she couldn't speak. Rescuers arrived and pulled the bus out of the river. The passengers and driver were rushed to the hospital. Hyunmin's waist was split open. Driver Oh's stomach was full of river water. The others were in a coma, close to death. Doctors tried to save them, but some died, including Hyunju's mom, Driver Oh and Haiwan. In the hospital hallway, Hyunmin's parents waited for their son to wake up. Rescuers gave them Hyunmin's phone. That night, Ji-young called, but Hyunmin's mom hung up. She sent a message saying Hyunmin was dead. She blamed Ji-young, thinking the accident wouldn't have happened if Hyunmin wasn't going to see her. Luckily, Hyunmin was saved by the doctors. Later, Hyunmin's dad wanted to tell Ji-young the good news, but found out she planned to die with Hyunmin. He quickly sent a message saying Hyunmin was still alive. Ji-young saw it, but it was too late. In despair, she broke all 10 of her fingernails. After Ji-young passed away, the mortician placed her body in a cold storage cabinet. They needed to wait 3 days before sending her away. This was to give her time to say goodbye to the world. In life, Ji-young often waited for Hyunmin at a bus stop under blooming cherry trees. She once played drums with her boyfriend to show love. In death, she still stayed at the same bus stop every night, tapping the bench with her twisted nails. Her deep love for Hyunmin brought back her ability to speak. Sadly, Hyunmin, stuck between life and death, lost all his memories. Because his waist was broken in a car accident, his body fell apart every time he walked. To help him, Ji-young kept sewing his waist with a needle and thread. The third day soon came. The mortician found Ji-young's cabinet stuck. They realized she hadn't finished her final wish. Another soul, Haiwan, also had unfinished business. When she was taken to the hospital, her body had stiffened and couldn't be separated from Seon-hae's. The boy saw the ghost behind Seon-hae. It was Haiwan. As the lights in the room flickered, Seon-hae's memories returned. She remembered her love and fights. Finally, she cried helplessly. Hyunju was also trapped in an alley. After moving into the apartment, her mother sent her to buy light bulbs every night without saying why. Hyunju couldn't take it anymore. The road to the store was too scary and she couldn't go alone. She cried, not understanding why her mother kept asking her to buy useless bulbs. Hyunju didn't know the bulbs were her life. Her mother did it all to save her. The police officer was also confused. After the rain stopped, he left the light shop and walked into an alley, trying to leave. At the end of the alley, there was a middle school. Inside a classroom, names of students were on the cabinet. Seeing the names, his lost memories started to return. He remembered his wife was once pregnant, but after 4 months, her belly didn't grow. The doctor told her the baby had died inside her. The officer felt very guilty. His wife couldn't accept it and quietly left him. He ran through the alley desperately. He couldn't find his wife and couldn't escape the strange alley. Later, the officer lit a cigarette and noticed his broken lighter was suddenly fixed. He then realized something was wrong with his shadow. Scared, he returned to the light shop. The owner gave him a cup of hot coffee. The officer drank it but didn't feel the heat or taste anything. He also noticed the night in the shop never ended. The owner took off his sunglasses, revealing cat-like eyes. He told the officer he had faced the same confusion. Years ago, the owner and his daughter were trapped under rubble after a disaster. His kind daughter peeled a candy for him. He ate the candy and promised to find help for her. He struggled out of the ruins and stumbled into the light shop. The owner back then was a mysterious woman. He begged her for help, but she refused. Angry, he picked up a lamp to smash it, but his body froze suddenly. The woman took the lamp from his hand, and the shop's lights returned. She told him there was also a bulb for his daughter in the shop. The man stared at the flickering lights and realized this was the border between life and death. He had already died in the ruins, so he begged the woman to save his daughter. The woman made a deal with him. From then on, he took over the light shop. People who met with accidents continued their usual lives here, but those who couldn't accept death wandered nearby. This was the world after death. The man, always cold and tortured by barking dogs, finally couldn't bear it and rushed out. He followed the sound and found a dog deep in the alley. Then, he remembered everything. The man had fallen off a cliff in the mountains and lost consciousness. A rescue dog stayed by his side, keeping him warm. It barked non-stop to call for help. When the rescue team arrived, the dog had sadly passed away. The man, in tears, stroked the kind dog. The dog barked and ran as if telling him to follow. It led him back to the light shop. There, with the dog's help, the man found his own bulb. Elsewhere, Hyunju was crying quietly in her room. Her mother didn't explain anything. She silently picked up Hyunju's necklace. Her funeral was the next day, and time was short. She decided to go to the light shop instead of Hyunju. Yeon also gave her life to protect her loved one. In her apartment, she held Seon-hae tightly and told her to the light shop to find her light. On the other side, the police officer doubted the owner's words. The owner then spoke the nickname the officer had chosen for his unborn child. Hearing this, the officer couldn't help crying and believed the owner. He asked why the owner never told him the truth before. The owner explained it was because he was still alive. If he left with the light shop's memories, it would confuse both worlds. The officer asked one last question. He wanted to know where the suspect he was chasing had gone. The owner said the suspect existed only to lead him to the shop. Then he hinted to the officer to follow the light to find the way out. The officer took out his lighter and lit it. Meanwhile, he in the hospital woke up and slowly regained consciousness. In the hospital room, there was also Ji-ung, who had been in a coma after the bus accident. Young-ji placed his favorite basketball under his bed to cheer him on. That same basketball appeared in the mysterious alley. Following the basketball, driver Oh found Ji-ung. He knelt down and carried Ji-ung on his back. Then he showed Ji-ung the way to the light shop and told him to find his own bulb with his will. Before Ji-ung left, driver Oh kept apologizing. He felt guilty about causing the accident. Ji-ung, limping, entered the shop and reached for his bulb. In that moment, the world became full of color. Soon, Ji-ung recovered and left the hospital. Young-ji brought him a gift to celebrate. Ji-ung said he sometimes had strange dreams, wandering in some place. Young-ji smiled gently. She said the man in his dreams seemed quiet, but had a warm heart. Driver Oh went back to the alley after saving the boy. He went to Seon-hae's apartment and apologized to her girlfriend. Hye-won didn't blame him because he had also died in the car accident. Driver Oh said he planned to keep finding survivors and take them to the light shop. Hye-won told him someone was still alive in a nearby apartment. After thanking her, Driver Oh went to the apartment and met Hyunju's mom. He thought she was alive until he saw she couldn't speak. Realizing she was dead, she left the apartment just to save her precious daughter. She ran to the light shop. With cotton stuffed in her mouth, she couldn't talk but gave the owner the necklace with her daughter's name. The owner understood she wanted a bulb for Hyunju. He shook his head and said everyone must come to get the bulb themselves. The woman, desperate, grabbed his collar and silently screamed. The owner took off his sunglasses, shocking her with his appearance. She cried, grabbed a candy nearby, unwrapped it, and put it in his mouth. The owner realized the woman was his daughter. Because of his deal with the previous owner, his daughter had survived the ruins. After years of loneliness in the shadowy world, dad and daughter finally reunited. Meanwhile, Hyunju waited for her mom but didn't see her return. She cleaned up broken bulbs in the house. When she went downstairs to throw out the trash, she felt something strange. The woman in the elevator didn't seem to see her. Driver Oh climbed up, exhausted. He explained why Hyunju came here. Hyunju remembered how her teachers ignored her, and her friends never listened. She realized no one could see her. Her only way back to the real world was in the light shop. At that moment, her mom returned with the bulb. Hyunju cried and refused to take it. She didn't want to leave her mom and wanted to stay with her. The mom wept too, unwilling to part with her daughter. But she wanted Hyunju to live well. Driver Oh finished his mission and fell asleep peacefully. Finally, Hyunju woke up from her hospital bed. Her father drove her to school and cheered her on. Hyunju tried to adjust to real life. She also remembered everything with her mom in the apartment. To keep her mom in her memory, she refused the therapy after waking up. Every night, her mom went to the light shop, they talked, ate their favorite candies, and watched the winter snow. Meanwhile, after much persuasion from Hye-won, Seon-hae left the house in tears. She went to the light shop and found her own bulb. When she touched it, Seon-hae regained consciousness in the hospital, but soon after, she stopped breathing. In the light shop, she had broken the bulb to stay with her girlfriend. The alley house was no longer dark and scary to Seon-hae. They could live happily together, ignoring others' opinions. However, Ji-young kept sewing her boyfriend's body over and over. The mortician couldn't open her cabinet, no matter what. Unable to let go, Ji-young stopped a bus directly. She asked Hyun-min why he didn't remember her. and if he didn't love her enough. With her hint, Hyunmin learned the whole truth. Ji-young told him to find his bulb at the light shop. After hugging her one last time, he sadly walked into the shop and, following his instinct, found his bulb. Watching his bulb glow, Ji-young cried even harder. Her boyfriend really left her. In the hospital room, thanks to Youngji's efforts, the man wandering in the dark heard the song. Finally, he followed the sound, found his way back, and came back to life. The police officer recovered and returned to the noodle shop. He realized Kim Sang-hoon was not a suspect, but a guide leading him to the light shop. During the car accident, Kim Sang-hoon also saved the officer's life. Kim Sang-hoon said he existed to maintain order. He had been following the woman who died in the fire because she didn't know she was dead. He visited the elderly man living alone to share a bowl of noodles before the man passed away. Kim noticed the police officer's sharp eyes and hoped he could take over his job. The officer agreed, put on the sunglasses, and became a guide for lost souls. At night, Youngji was haunted by an angry spirit. The police officer appeared and took off his sunglasses. Meanwhile, Hyunmin's recovery wasn't going well. His thoughts were still confused. The doctor advised him to let go of unnecessary things, but the first thing he threw away was his phone full of memories with his girlfriend. Hyunmin seemed more worried about not living a normal life than losing Ji-young. The mortician dressed Ji-young's body, but she still had regrets. She didn't understand why Hyunmin had forgotten her. Meanwhile, Hyunmin got a new phone and planned to start fresh. When he entered the code at his door, the hallway lights suddenly went out. He waved his hand, just like when he used to wave at Ji-young while they dated. Just then, Ji-young returned to his side.